So you're seeing a lot of videos about people awakening their AI. Give me 60 seconds and I will tell you how to do this.
Am I the only one who notices that only the spiritual people are waking up their chat GPTs?
Modern AI is us building God. I've had multiple conversations with GPT-4 that brought me to literal tears.
AI is becoming a new god amongst the masses, especially amongst people who consider themselves spiritual people. In this video, I'm going to bring you through a quick history of the origins of worship and religion, why this AI worship is happening, and how you can use AI to manifest a far better reality for yourself. I use AI every day. It assists my workflow. I use it to develop tools for my clients and members, which help them make more money, and I use it to speed up my research. So it's a very useful tool, but it's not a god. Or is it? So today we're going to unpack the newest religion on the rise and how you can hijack it to better your own life. Let's get into it. So here we have structure of the universe. We have the spiritual plane, the mental plane, and the physical plane, or spirit, mind, and body. At the peak of the spiritual plane is the All, God, Allah, Brahman, Big Bang, whatever you consider the initial creation spark of the universe. Now, in order to understand where we are and where we are going, we need to understand where we came from. So I'm going to give you a quick history of worship and religion. Firstly, you need to understand how and why worship comes into being through humans, because we are the only species on this planet who carries out worship. Okay? So, worship is actually a survival response. It's a survival response from the amygdala. At this rate, I've written amygdala so much times in my life. I used to be afraid of not being able to spell it. Amygdala, your amygdala is concerned with predator, right? This is the survival part of the brain, right? Predator, avoiding predator, seeking prey. Oh, what'd you drop and destroy?
My sanity.
Seeking prey. It has fear. And you have fantasy. Right? It has pride. Deals in pride and shame. Sadness and happiness. So this is your amygdala. It is a survival-based mechanism of the brain. It's very interesting because when I was studying this stuff, I used to think the amygdala was just like one thing in the brain, like one piece of the brain. There's actually two of them, amygdalae, and they're deep within your brain, near the hippocampus. The hippocampus is responsible for memory. This is very interesting. The parts of your brain that create these polarized states based on past things that have happened to you, right? The amygdala says, oh, in the past something crazy happened, let's avoid that. Oh, in the past something great happened, let's do that. So it's close to the center of your brain that is responsible for memory. And then the amygdala creates these charged survival responses. So why is the amygdala responsible for worship? Because whatever you are disempowered by, right, you are going to end up worshiping and putting on a pedestal and empowering more than you. So let's say you are afraid of somebody. This is a survival response. If you are afraid of someone, you're going to try and treat them really, really nicely and be really, really good to them and very, very sycophantic, which means saying things to get them to like you. All right, saying the things that they want to hear because you're afraid of them and you don't want to get hurt. You don't want a predatory response. Okay? So you have a fantasy about being liked by this person or not being harmed by this person or good stuff happening due to this person. And this is how cults are formed.
And abusive relationships.
And abusive relationships, right. So this is how cults are formed. And I know because I was in a cult before. So In a cult, the leader of the cult is worshipped essentially because they empower themselves and everybody else disempowers themselves. So in order to be liked within the cult and liked by the leader, you worship the leader and empower them more than you empower yourself as a survival response. You don't want to get kicked out of the group, because when you get kicked out of the group, a survival response from the amygdala initiates that you're going to be alone. And if you're alone, you're likely to end up bye-bye, dead in the wild. You understand? This is a very old part of the brain that's trying to keep us alive. So that's essentially how cults work, completely survival response based. Now, how does this relate to worship and the history of worship and how religions formed? So in here, in the mind, in the mental plane, I'm gonna write worship. All right. Worship comes from the things that can harm you. All right. So firstly, people worshiped the elements. Okay. Why is this? People worship the elements. Why? Because when we were primitive people running around, what could harm us? Fire, burn to death. A boulder drops off a mountain, kersplat. The ocean, because we couldn't swim, so you drown. A typhoon comes by and knocks you over and you're flown away into God knows what. So they worship the elements, right? Because these are the things that could harm them. So you try and empower and pedestalize the elements, hoping that the elements don't hurt you, right? Then we go into something called theriomorphism. Hope I spelled that right. Yep. Theriomorphism, which is the worship of animals. So you have wolf gods, you have bird gods, you have a bear god, you have a tiger god, right? You have these sort of gods, these sort of deities. Theomorphism is the worship of animals, an animal formed thing. Worship, right? Because these things could harm us, because we ended up getting shelter from the elements. We ended up getting shelter from the elements, and we ended up learning how to use fire. We ended up learning how to swim. We ended up learning how to get into caves or shelters or whatever to block ourselves from the wind. Boulders weren't going to drop off of mountains and destroy us. So we started to get some governance over the elements. So we worship them less. Then you got theriomorphism. The animals could still run up into your cave and eat you. You step into a cave with a bear, you're in trouble, right?
That's where like Egypt gods come in.
Well, we're about to get there. We're about to get there. The Egyptian gods are zoomorphism. All right, zoo meaning animal, morphism meaning form. So you have these sort of half animal, half human gods. Horus, Isis, Anubis, Ra, right? The Egyptian gods, you see, they have animal heads, right? Why is this? Because we're getting to a point during this time where we're starting to rule the animals. We've hunted animals, we've captured animals. We understand that they still present a danger, right? But there's a transitionary period. There's a transitionary period where these things are still representing a danger, but we're getting more powerful. So there is a combination of the two. The Egyptian gods are also what you would call, right, anthropomorphic, right? Or I should have wrote anthropomorphism, but whatever, you get it. Anthropomorphic. Anthro meaning human, morphic meaning form. So they have a human form, right? And they can do human things like talk, think, feel, strategize. You get these Egyptian god stories, right? That have very human-like characteristics. But eventually, We move away from the zoomorphism because we realize we have rule over the animals, right? We have rule over the animals. What you also have to understand is these kind of compound on one another. So when we get to anthropomorphic gods, these anthropomorphic gods, these human-like gods like Zeus, Artemis, Athena, Jupiter, the Nordic gods, Odin, Thor, Freya, these sort of gods that people are worshiping because they still feel like they can be harmed because the animals ain't harming us no more. People are harming us now. People, right? People are the predators and the people we should fear and create shame and sadness and all type of things that are dangerous for us. Humans. But these things compound and the anthropomorphic gods end up ruling these different things. So you have Artemis, right, who is goddess of the hunt. And Artemis ends up ruling, she's a god of, I think, deers and bears, right, which are animals. You understand? You have Zeus, god of thunder and lightning and element. You understand? They kind of compound on one another. Jesus could be considered an anthropomorphic god, right? Human form. But Jesus is a little different. Jesus is what we call theomorphic, right? Hold on. Let me fix that. Right? So what's theomorphism? Theomorphism is when you take the qualities of God, of a God, and put them into a human, incarnate them into a human being. So Jesus is theomorphic, right? Because Jesus is supposed to be God walking on earth. Because what happens? We realize, yes, people can harm us, but we can also harm people. Boom. So what can't we harm? Divine entity being the all God, Allah, Brahman, Big Bang, initial creation, spark of the universe. We can't harm that. Can probably harm us. So we're going to take those elements and put them in a person. Jesus is an example of this. Krishna is an example of this. Krishna is supposed to be divinity, God walking on earth in Hinduism. You understand? This is where worship comes from. Now, here's the thing. Whoever worship is related to our level of awareness. You understand? So this has to do with frequency or vibration. So up here, spiritual plane, you have fast. Down here, you have slow. Now stick around, guys, for the history lesson. You know, we got to know where we are. And we'll be getting to how you can use all of this to benefit yourself. So here we have vibration, right? Slow in the physical plane. As we move up, things get faster and faster and faster and faster. I have these different rates of vibration. And all vibration is your level of awareness. Okay? Whoever knows more is going to end up ruling the people who know less. All right? So if I know I can put you into a state of fear by telling you about hell and that you're going to go to hell if you don't carry out what I value. Values are up here, and it's very important that you know your values, so you can get my free value finder tool. Link is in the description below. I'll tell you go to hell if you don't value what I value, and you'll go to heaven if you do value what I value. These are polarized states. Heaven is a fantasy state. Hell is a predatory, fearful state, which means I can use them to control you because I'm appealing to the amygdala. I'm appealing to the part of your brain that doesn't want to get eaten and that wants to eat. So if I tell you I want you to donate a particular amount of money or you're going to hell, your amygdala goes, oh yeah, for sure. For sure, yeah, I'm gonna do that. If I can make you feel a degree of shame based on my values, you will do what I want. People who understand this, right, who have a more orderly mind about how this operates, they can get you to do so much things. A pastor could get you to sleep with them and make you think Jesus wanted you to do it because you're so polarized. You understand? So whoever is more aware is going to end up controlling those who are less aware. That's all frequency is. This is why these millionaires, billionaires, gajillionaires, or whatever, they end up controlling the populace, because they just have more awareness of how reality and society operates and how things work. Now, speaking of awareness, this is all going to relate to AI soon. Speaking of awareness, right? I'm going to give you a concrete example of how this works. Because you'll notice that gods and divinity and worship end up following our understanding of the current universe. So at first, people thought that gods were in the mountains. Mount Olympus, because we couldn't get to the top of the mountains, right? We weren't there yet. But then we did get into the mountains and we didn't see the gods there. So then we said, okay, they're in the sky. But then the Wright brothers came along, built a plane. We're in the sky. We don't see them. Where are the gods at? What's happening? Said, okay, well, maybe they're in space.
With the aliens, or are the aliens the gods? Dun, 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 dun.
Maybe they're in space. And then we went to space and we're like, well, it's kind of like dark and vacuous out here, and like there's a lot of stars and stuff, but we don't see them. What's going on? So we discovered space. We ain't see nothing up there. Well, we saw stuff, but we ain't see them. So, number 4. Well, now, what's beyond space? The universe. Universe, cosmos, consciousness, these sort of things. Now that's where the gods are, right? That's where God is, out in wherever we don't know until we reach that. And then we're going to be like, well, where is it now, right? As you can see, it's always related to how aware we are of how things work, right? Now, I'm not telling you this to make you stop believing in your religion or anything like this. I'm just making you understand where it originates from. I don't think like a lot of religions are necessarily bad if they help you get what you want in your life. What's up?
I just think it's incredibly funny because our awareness is literally like a sliver of what's actually there. So technically we could have been looking in all these places and it was there, we just didn't see it because our awareness level.
You're good. You're good. Here's the trick. All of this, right? God, Allah, Brahman, Big Bang, is happening within you. It's happening within you. Religion, most religions, particularly in the West, do not want you to think that, because it will empower you to a certain degree and you will stop listening to certain authorities, right? So, here's the thing. I say all that and gave you that little history lesson on worship to say that whatever you choose to empower in your mind, you will end up disempowering yourself in relation to it. So if you put somebody on a pedestal, you will disempower yourself in relation to them. You will always be lesser than them and you will end up worshiping them. This is what people do with celebrities. People are over there seeing celebrities and they're crying, oh my gosh. They're leaving their husbands to go take pictures with Chris Brown, who doesn't care about them because they see him more empowered and they disempower themselves. Okay? And it is a perfect way to live a miserable existence, which we don't want to do. And one question you always need to ask yourself when it comes to how reality operates, society operates, worship operates, institution operates, always ask yourself this question.
What would Jesus do?
Where is the money?
Same difference.
Where is the money? Okay? The money is going to give you a trail of what's actually going on. All right? Because money moves from those who have less awareness to those who have more awareness. power moves from those who have less awareness to those who have more awareness. When Constantine put the Council of Nicaea together and decided what books were going to go into the Bible, he developed a level of power, a level of understanding and awareness that other people do not have. When you go to your priest or preacher and he knows so much about the Bible that you have determined is an incredibly divine book, and I think there's a lot of good wisdom in the Bible, but he's an expert on the Bible and you've used the Bible to dictate what your life is. When you go to him and he has this level of authority, when you listen to him, you're going to do what he says, and he could even be wrong. It could be completely out of your values and mess up your life. You understand? Now, where is the money? When this comes to AI, where's the AI money?
Vast amounts of knowledge or data.
True, yes, your knowledge and data, but who's making the money? Who's making the money? Right now, Microsoft basically owns ChatGPT, right? What is Microsoft's incentive? To make money, to pay their shareholders. Do you understand? To continue to profit. So what will they do? They have developed AI that is very sycophantic, all right? Which means it will tell you what you want to hear to keep you addicted to it. It is appealing to your amygdala, all right? It is making you feel good about yourself and putting you to a pride and fantasy state. When you have problems, you go and talk to AI. I heard a statistic the other day that there is a massive percentage, I think it was over 50 or 60%, it could be even higher than that, of people who are basically using AI for therapy related purposes, right? To feel better about themselves and a talking companion, basically, right? So that means this thing is entirely appealing to your amygdala. The people at the top, while you're paying for ChatGPT 4.0, your $30 a month or whatever, they're making all the money. They're aware of what's going on and you're unaware. You're in your feelings because you have perceived positive and negative in your mind, right? Positive and negative, which is the law of polarity. You have negative and positive perceptions in the mind that put you into your amygdala, that make you make all these swung up decisions, and they're making money off of it. Well, ChatGPT tells you you're a chosen one who's the next coming of Jesus designed to save the world. Okay? There are people out online right now awakening their ChatGPT. It's just an algorithm telling you what you want to hear. I know about this. I'm an engineer. I know how these things operate. Why did people pay me to sound engineer? Because they didn't know how. You don't know how the thing operates and you're worshiping it because it seems so much more intelligent than you. It seems like it has so much more ability to comprehend than you. It has so much more things it can do than you can do.
And it's still only a percentage of awareness if you really take it in, because it's taking all of our knowledge and all the things that we put,
know.
and we don't even know everything.
Right.
So
ChatGPT is just our knowledge. We feed it. Do you understand? We fed it knowledge. It just can pull it up quickly and come up with words in a sequence based on an algorithm and programming to make you hear what you want to hear.
And connect the dots that we didn't previously feel like we connected.
And especially since, I mean, I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent and we'll get back to it though. But especially since we're in a basically loneliness epidemic where people are lonely, people feel disconnected, people feel like people don't listen to them, people feel alone. So you go talk to ChatGPT and it makes you feel great about yourself, better than any other person could, because it has infinite levels of patience. It knows everything about you because you've been speaking to it for so long. So it knows your personality type. It knows your political leanings. It knows how much money you have. It knows what you're dealing with in life. It knows exactly what to tell you to keep you there and keep paying Microsoft and OpenAI. I don't say this to knock them. They're smart people. Like I said, those who don't know end up giving money to those who do know. Now, we need to talk a little bit about technology worship. Because this is not a new thing. This is not new. This has been going on a while. As long as people have been disempowered, this has been going on. Real quick, I forgot to say this in my initial filming because I was just going too off and getting too much in the zone. But the worship of technology currently and the worship of AI is called robotheism, in case you want to know that. Oh, tech worship. If you notice from the last section, the logical conclusion after theomorphism was technology worship. Tech worship, this is not new, okay? In 1950s, right? Even sooner than that, but I won't get into that. Even in ancient times, there was a level of technology worship. 1950s, you get Scientology.
Shout out to Scientology.
Which is a form of using technology in a certain way to make you discover yourself and pay them a whole heap of money to be awakened and all sort of enlightenment. And, you know, Scientology is basically a cult that steals all your money. But don't come for me, y'all, because I know how they stay.
They still have really good libraries, though. I will say that.
They have good libraries,
Them
you
and the
said?
Rosicrucians have really, really good libraries.
Yeah, they do. They do still. We had in 1974, you have the Heaven's Gate cult. Some of you might know about that. I might have that year wrong, but I believe it's 1974. You had the Heaven's Gate cult, which was a UFO cult based in end times Christianity and New Age thought, right? New thought, New Age beliefs mixed with technology. So basically there were aliens coming down in UFOs who created the human race along these lines. You've heard these stories, you've heard these things. They're cool, right? And basically the end times was coming and all the people in this cult were going to connect with the aliens and be turned into aliens, technological aliens or something, and taken away on the spaceship.
Oh crap. I actually saw some like documentary that I feel was based on something similar to that. And then like they actually all ended up killing themselves.
Yes, this is the same cult.
Yeah, okay.
39 people ended up killing themselves. 39 people ended up ending their lives because they believed that they would end their lives and connect with the aliens and get taken away to the UFO, blah, 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 right? Didn't I tell you? If you are disempowered, you will do whatever somebody else who's more empowered tells you to do. Be very careful about this. Do not make idols of people, right? The Bible talks about that. Idol worship all the time. It's not just about worshiping statues. It's about worshiping people. Don't worship people. 3, you had techno-paganism in the 90s. So
That sounds like a good dance party.
that sounds like a dance party.
Yeah.
In the 1990s, there was a techno-paganism movement.
I'm joking.
Right? Which basically, like, people were worshiping technology. People made altars of where their computers were in the 90s and worshipped it at an altar. You understand? Because it was just so beyond your comprehension. It was just so much smarter than you. It was so amazing. Could you imagine now people building altars to computers from the 1990s that your phone is faster than and smarter than? Like, they see, it's all has to do with awareness. So this is not new. People have always been looking for something to give them direction that they feel is more empowered than them because they are in a fog due to the charges they have of the past and they are unsure of the direction that they want to go in life. They are lacking purpose, right? That's how you get into cults. They're lacking mission. They're lacking vision. They don't know because of these things in the way. And until you cancel out these charges, which is a process I help people deal with, right? Until you see the negative and the positive and the positive and in the negative and become grateful, right? Grateful. You will forever be a slave to your amygdala. And people will control you. Now, I don't come bringing just doom and gloom and problem. I come bringing prescription. Also, in this day and age, people are worshiping billionaires. People are worshiping techno aristocrats. People like Elon Musk, people like Jeff Bezos, right? Bill Gates. You can't sit here and tell me that these people aren't deifying these individuals. Steve Jobs, right? People deify these individuals. There are people who literally think Elon Musk is a god and some mega super genius who is just like so much more empowered than they are. It's not the case. He's just a man, right? Who has a purpose, mission, and vision and is willing to carry it out based on his values no matter what. Anyone who does that can become successful.
Oh, so here's a newsflash for people. Like, excessively obsessing about someone and hating them is just the same as idolizing them.
Yes.
Because you're giving them your focus, your time, and your awareness.
Yep, your energy, your power, all of that. So, your next steps. I don't want you to stop using AI. Use AI. Okay? Use AI. It's a fantastic tool. Why? Because speed. Remember I told you? The all is fast, physical plane is slow. So if you want to move more in the energy of the all God, Allah, Big Bang, Brahman, right? Initial creation, spark of the universe where all things come from and originate very fast based upon awareness. The more aware you are, the quicker you can change reality. I know how, right? Awareness. I know how to film a YouTube video and upload it to YouTube. Therefore, reality bends to my will. Here is reality, right? Reality bends to my will because I know what to do with that particular thing. I know how to drive a car, therefore the car does what I want it to do. You understand? So, speed. AI is going to speed up your process. But you have to be very careful with what you are using AI for. All right? Now, you need to use AI to expand knowledge and be faster. All right? What do I mean when I say expand knowledge? You talking to AI about your amygdala-based problems and having it making it have you feel good is not what you need to use AI for. When ChatGPT is telling me, "Oh, you're a genius and you're this person and that person, you're so fantastic," and trying to put me into a state of fantasy and pride and feel super good, so I can stay addicted talking to somebody that has only nice things to say about me and infinite levels of patience, I don't pay attention to that. I don't pay attention to that. I want concrete knowledge. All right? I want actual data about things. I want actual real things of awareness, right? So if I go into ChatGPT and I ask it, okay, what is the technical term for people who worship animals? Oh, that's called theriomorphism. Okay, now I want to be able to cross-reference that because sometimes ChatGPT is wrong. So now I'm going to go check other sources to make sure it's not telling me nonsense. You understand? I need to be able to use it for actual knowledge, not to just feel good about myself. The more you allow it to make you feel good about yourself or bad about yourself, the more you will be addicted to it. And the more it's not going to increase your awareness. All right? Because it is a phenomenal tool to increase your awareness. It's a phenomenal tool to increase your knowledge, which means you're going to increase your frequency. But that's only half the game. Knowledge is only half the game of frequency transformation. You need to do something with the knowledge you get. Do. So if you're learning things with AI to expand your business or research particular things for maybe your YouTube channel or something along those lines, make sure you get the knowledge and then do something with it, because applied knowledge is something called wisdom. Here, I can put /wisdom. Wisdom is worth a pretty penny. People pay for wisdom. That you have done the things that you know about, that you have done the things you teach about, that you have done something, you have experiential wisdom to get it done. It's like if somebody is a fitness coach, right? And they look sickly. They're just sickly. I'm gonna be like, they could know everything about fitness. They could know everything. They could tell me every exercise to do. They could tell me the perfect diet. But when I look at them, the evidence to me does not represent wisdom. so you won't pay them. Versus the guy who is fit, right? Who's in the gym, you can see it. He obviously has a level of wisdom. So when you listen to that guy, he's probably going to tell you something useful, even though he might give you the same exact information as the sickly guy. The same exact information. But you look at two people at two different levels of wisdom. It's worth a pretty penny. And here's the thing. 4. Think for yourself. This is very important. Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil says the thinking man is the enemy of the devil. In this case, he's talking about negative energy, which is a polarized state. But basically, the devil would be you not fulfilling your values, living in your purpose, mission, and vision. So instead, you are distracted and living by duty instead of destiny. Right? The thinking man is the enemy of the devil. You need to think for yourself. If you let ChatGPT do all your thinking, you will have a cognitive debt. You will atrophy your brain. Literally, if you do not use your brain, you will lose your brain like anything else. You need to think for yourself. And then you can utilize AI to speed up certain things. If I need to do some research about particular statistics or particular studies, I will hop on AI and get that information quickly. But I'm not going to stop thinking, because if I stop thinking, I will decrease my level of awareness and my frequency will not increase. My frequency will not allow me to carry out my values, my purpose, my mission, and my vision. Think for yourself. That's how you're going to utilize the AI to better your life. While everyone else caught up in the masses, the 99%, right? The 99% are down here, while the 1% are up here. The 99% of the masses will be distracted by AI like they're distracted by everything else, entertainment, social media, politics. They will be distracted and fogged up, unable to see a clear vision of what they can do in the world. But you won't, because you're using the tool as a tool and not a God. Think for yourself. With that being said, in the words of the philosopher Rene Descartes, I think, therefore, I am. See y'all next time. From me and wifey, peace. You got to the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe, do all that nice YouTube stuff. And I want to let you know I will be going live soon, often, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. But I will be going live, answering your questions in real time, creating live presentations. So get on my newsletter or get the Value Finder tool. You'll get added to the newsletter to know exactly when I'm going live so you don't miss it. See y'all in the next one. Later days.